Today I'm here in a showroom with some beautiful furniture around me. This place, it's called Urban Lumber Company, I believe, makes some really, really beautiful furniture, and I'm here with the founder today. What's your name?
My name is Seth San Filippo.
My name is Randy with Merchandise, and we're gonna help you get in the mindset to mind your own business. Maybe just talk a little bit about how in the world somebody gets into this type of building furniture. Actually, maybe you should just tell us a little bit about what type of furniture that you build.
Sure, yeah, well here we build custom furniture from salvaged city trees. So we get down trees around town, come from backyards and streets and parks, and we mill them up, dry it, and build custom furniture that we ship all over the country.
Now, I read a little bit about you on your website before we got here, but what did you do before this?
Well, what originally got me into playing with wood and building furniture and starting this business was building custom skateboards as a teenager. I started a small little kind of side hustle company building custom longboard skateboards. And while doing that, I was always looking for good wood and started noticing these trees coming down and the opportunity for the salvage and reuse of them. And one thing leads to another over the years. That's what kind of got me here.
So like the skateboards, that was also your business or your side hustle?
Yeah, I started that when I was 19.
Were you a skateboarder?
Not really.
Okay.
I grew up out in the country and we didn't have sidewalks or skate parks really to skate on, but shortly after I moved to Eugene, I thought it would be kind of a fun way, just as another mode of transportation, and built one for myself and my brother and one of our buddies, and everywhere we went, people started asking us about them and kind of got my wheels turning a little bit about building and selling them.
Okay, cool. And so you said that you build custom furniture out of like salvaged lumber. So are you in contact with like people that do like tree service or stuff like that, or like how does somebody go about acquiring a big old like slab of wood like that? Like, do you have to have like the right connections, or you just pretty much anybody that you talk to will let you take the wood?
Yeah, it's all about connections and equipment, and we've been doing it for a long time. And we work with all the different tree services around town, the municipalities, the parks department. We also have our own tree service as well.
Oh, really?
So we're actually working on cleaning up storm damaged trees and doing removals and things like that. So yeah, we get it from a lot of different sources. And so yeah, our furniture is made from lumber that we mill from salvaged trees, as opposed to, this is not old lumber that was from a barn or a building or something like that. We're making new lumber from salvaged trees.
How much do you think that the local area has to do with like your success? To me, when I see these big old slabs of wood, like it seems to me like the trendy thing to have one of these big old slabs sitting on a bar, or one of these coffee tables sitting in a living room or a waiting room, stuff like that. Like here in the local area, I could see this doing very well, but like, is this more of a widespread thing than just like here locally, or where does your business come from?
Yeah, sure. Great question. I think it's pretty trendy across the country and across the world. I think our location does play into our success because we have the access to these trees here.
Right.
This business works really well in the Northwest because we have the supply. If we were trying to do this in another area without the trees, it would obviously be a lot harder to do.
Right.
So with that being said, we're used to seeing big trees and wood here in Oregon. I think our business actually does better out of the area where people aren't as used to seeing big trees around them. Not everybody has a chainsaw in their garage like they do here in Oregon. So we end up shipping a lot of our product out of the area.
Do you?
Yeah, but it is popular here too, and I like to think we've been around enough and we're a large enough manufacturer here in this area that we've helped create a little bit of that trend here in the Eugene, Springfield area.
So you said you started your skateboard company, you said around the age of 19?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I was 19 and then did that for a few years, and it continued to grow. And like I said, I started to see other opportunity and more opportunity in the salvage of the logs and the selling of lumber and building of things. And so I kind of went full time and turned it into Urban Lumber Company in the spring of 2006. So that would have been about 7 years later. So I was 26 years old.
Okay. Did you have a job before that, or that was kind of like your first job, is building custom skateboards?
Yeah, I had a job. In fact, my day job, I did computer-aided drafting. I was drawing basically electromechanical plans for a fire alarm company.
Oh,
And it was a great job, but woodworking was more my passion and my hobby on the side.
okay.
And as it continued to grow, I, at some point decided to pursue that
Yeah.
and all of the risks that entailed by, stepping out on my own and starting a new business. And it was an interesting time. So in 2006, it was just a few years before the recession of 2008. Most new businesses struggle anyways. We quickly hit a recession, and it was in kind of a dying industry, being the wood products industry.
Oh.
However, we're doing salvage, and I was small enough and nimble enough at the time to roll with it and get through it and continue to grow.
So would it be cheaper to produce lumber like this, or is it more expensive to salvage lumber?
I think it's probably more expensive to salvage lumber for the product that we use it for. So,
Okay.
Because it's kind of a boutique product that
Yeah.
we're not just mass producing 2x4s,
Right.
and it's cheaper to do that from farmed forests where it's more of a commodity or almost like a crop.
Yeah.
We're at the mercy of what we get and when things are dead and hazardous and storm damaged, and each one has its own unique set of challenges, and it's a slow process for us. So I kind of compare it more to like having like an organic farm stand,
Okay.
trying to sell your tomatoes versus being like a massive, huge farm with thousands of acres
Yeah.
and all the mechanized machinery and all that.
What do you think kept you from quitting your job there at the fire alarm company, doing the electrical stuff? What do you think kept you from just like quitting that sooner and just going full time into woodworking? Because it sounds like this woodworking is your passion.
Yeah, well, that's a good question to ask yourself when you're considering pursuing your hobby. I mean, for one, I made really good money and I had a steady job, so it's kind of like giving that up in exchange for feeding your soul.
Right.
So that was part of it. And then, just working up to it and kind of doing it slow, seeing the opportunity and weighing the pros and cons and not just being foolish about like, oh, I'm passionate about this, so I'm just going to give everything up and just go all in. I had to give it some thought and some research, wrote a business plan and kind of did a little bit of market research on what the, both the supply and the demand side look like.
Is it smart to take one of your hobbies and like make that your full-time job?
I think it depends on the person. I think taking your hobby and turning it into a job is a good way to ruin your hobby sometimes.
Right. I've heard that a lot. That's why I asked.
Yeah, and I kind of have a bad habit of doing that. I really get into things and I think, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a career or work out of this, and it takes a little bit of the fun out of it. But at the end of the day, like it's still a labor of love, and that really gets me through a lot of hard times as well.
Good deal. Good deal. So how old were you when you went full time into just like having your own business? Like you're no longer doing fire alarm stuff. You're just here.
Yeah. So I mentioned I was 26, but actually I was 25. Yeah.
Okay.
I was 25. That's when I went full on. I fully quit the job, refinanced my house, bought a commercial property. I went all in. I went from having a steady, good paying job to, putting my sign out on the front door and hoping somebody walked in and going for it at 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you married at the time? Are you married now?
Yes, I was newly married at the time. I had been married for about 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yep. It was a crazy year for me that year. Within a few months of being married, I both started a business, found out I had cancer, and my wife was pregnant with our first child.
No way.
So it was all at once. In fact, when I was trying to close escrow on my business property that was, starting to start the business, I missed my appointment to sign the papers because I was in isolation for radiation treatment I was getting through my cancer. So yeah, it was a lot. And then with a pregnant new wife at the same time, we couldn't be together for quite a while because I was still radioactive.
Oh,
So
man.
it was all at once,
That is rough.
which seems to have been a theme
Oh,
over the last what'll be 18 years.
wow.
Yeah.
So
I'm not currently married now.
okay. So to somebody starting out, let's just say that you met a 25-year-old that's like, I want to start a new business, and I'm also engaged to get married next month. Like, what would you say to him? Like, would you recommend, like, yeah, you should start a business and get married at the same time? Or would you say offset that a little bit?
I mean, for me, it's like, sure, why not? Let's just do it. I like to just do it. You know, I mean, I think people often wait too much to find the perfect time for things.
Right.
Because I feel that there's never truly a perfect time.
Okay.
You can spend a lot of time waiting and missing out on a lot of good and bad. You may miss out on a bunch of opportunity. You may miss out on a lot of problems, but you won't know unless you go for it. That's that's how I go about it. I like to take risks without being reckless, though. I think there's a difference there as well.
Okay.
You know, I think you do need to think about these things, and you have to weigh family decisions with money and career and all that stuff. But I think I don't know, I'm a go for it kind of guy.
Did you go to college?
I did not go to college. I went to a trade school to learn that computer-aided drafting program that I was working with.
Okay.
But that was just like a 10-month program after high school. And then I went to work.
So no college at all, and you've been running this business for how long?
Well, it's 18 years next month. Yeah, full time. And it was kind of a side hustle before that for a few years. So close to 20 years. And I mean, at this point, we've got urban lumber here. We've got the tree service as well. And then I also own a business in Seattle that does pretty much the same thing called Urban Hardwoods. So
Okay.
I'm running 3 businesses with about 25 people. And I feel like I continually get an education in management and finance and law and human relations and
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
I mean, I use math every day. I feel like I've had an education for my entire life.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously starting a new company, that's rough. That takes a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of, it's just a lot of work. Do you think you could have skipped out on it, on some of those struggles or mistakes by going to college or getting educated in law or, a higher degree of math or whatever?
For me, I don't think so. I mean, I can see how somebody might a little bit, but at the
Okay.
same time, while you're doing that, you're accruing debt and losing time. While most of my peers were still going to school and working towards their degree, I was, a building owner and a business owner, and I was, kind of grinding out and getting my own form of education and income and all those things. So I feel like I had a little bit of a head start there, honestly.
So you wouldn't necessarily recommend somebody go to college if they wanted to start a business like yours?
I don't feel that it's necessary, but again, everybody's different. I'm not talking down on college. I mean, I think it's great for a lot of things and a lot of people. My brother did the very opposite that I did. He went to college and worked really hard and continued to get his master's degree and got an amazing career and gets paid well, and it's perfect for him. But we're just different people and it shows different paths. But I think it's a good example that you can be successful in either one. So I don't think it's a requirement.
All right, going back even further, what was family life like for you growing up? Siblings, parents, like that whole family, like how was that for you?
Sure. Yeah, I think my family dynamic had a lot to do with who I am and the path I chose and my success. My parents are both extremely hard workers and self-starters. They're still married. They've got a great relationship. They've always worked really well together. My mom was in real estate and did really well with real estate sales and property management. My dad did a lot of the construction and maintenance on rentals and things.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I got a lot of business acumen from my mom. I got a lot of my building skills from my dad.
Yeah.
My mom's artistic. I definitely used part of that, She's a great businesswoman. She can be tough, and my dad's really really caring. And I feel like I got a little bit of both, and I feel like I use all those things, managing people and using the skill sets that I learned. I have one brother, like I mentioned, he's just a year and a half younger, so we grew up pretty close.
Okay.
And
So there was a lot of emphasis put on hard work when you were at home?
Yeah. I don't feel like they preached it, but they did it, and I saw it. I remember as a child thinking, "Man, I don't ever want to work that hard. I don't want to. I don't want to do what they do." But at some point, it was ingrained, I think,
Yeah.
and I'm actually really thankful that they led as an example there.
Kids growing up nowadays, a lot of access to internet, video games. Did you do any of that?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up in a different time in a different place. It was
Right.
a small town and rural. We didn't have video games. We had a couple of staticky TV channels.
Okay.
I mean, the internet wasn't really a thing until I was like out of high school, pretty much.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I didn't even have an email address, I think, until I was like 20 or 21.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yeah, different time.
For sure. For sure. From when you started out till now, what would you say is the best change that you've made to the way that you do business? If you could go back and you could just change one thing sooner, one thing that you would say is like really fast tracked your success maybe, or something that has just been a game changer.
That's a good one too. Not that I did everything perfect. I certainly have made plenty of blunders and learned along the way, but it's part of what's gotten me to this point. So, I mean, it's hard to say that I would change too much, including some of the missteps, because I've definitely learned from them. I think as I've grown and aged and, been around and managed people, like I think I've matured a lot just in managing people and customers. And I think that's allowed me to be a better employer, and I think it's allowed this to be a better place to work. And I think some of those changes are, not being too too overprotective of every little detail, or not micromanaging, letting good people kind of do their thing without trying to control it all, which can be hard for a type A personality or somebody that is building this thing that's like their baby. It can be hard to let go of control sometimes, but I think that's been a key to success. And I think if I were to look back and say, maybe if I were able to do a little bit more of that sooner, it might have helped.
Do you think that you could work for somebody else and be happy?
I think it'd be really hard for me, at this point. I mean, I've basically been self-employed since I was a teenager, and I really like all the freedom that comes with. It comes with a lot of challenges too, but a lot of those are rewarding to me. I think it could be hard for me to work for somebody else unless I had a really good situation where I was kind of able to call most of my own shots, And even though I haven't been an employee, I think if I could figure that out, I think I would be a really good employee, knowing what it takes to actually think about all the details of running a company.
Yeah.
Because there's a different perspective usually from an employee's perspective versus an owner or a founder.
Would you say that you've been successful? And what does that mean to you?
I would say that I've been successful, but success to me is above and beyond monetary success.
Okay.
I think it's I think it's how you treat people and like a company culture that you have the opportunity to build when you're in this position. I think it's success within the community, being an established business and a member of the community. And I think ultimately, like I would measure success as just continuing to be here. It's not easy. Even now, we have our hard times and our better times, and but I think it's a success if you can make it through to a point like this. Not that it'll last forever either. I've told people in the past, like I don't know that I have any specific one thing that makes me a better business owner or woodworker or something. I know there's a lot of people out there that are better at some of the things, but I've been very successful at just being diligent and just continuing to get through things and being resilient and just kind of working harder.
Just thinking about, you said that you had cancer. How did you get through that, or how did you beat that? Especially while running a business, like how in the world does somebody do that?
That was tricky. Yeah, it was definitely tricky getting through all those things at one time. But again, I think it kind of like set me up for the chaos of life and running a business. I mean, life is hard, and I think that it's kind of more important on how you handle it and what you do with that than allowing it to beat you. I don't know. I mean, I also think that the cancer that I got was a good one, as they say. Like it's beatable, and I know that's a lot harder for a lot of other people, and so I'm fortunate there. And I don't know. Sometimes I think it also gave me kind of a sense of urgency to just continue to live my life to the fullest and work hard to create a life that I want.
Yeah.
Not that I feel forced into. And so I like to think that it helped in that level.
Yeah. You think that dealing with a lot of that adversity, you think that helped you, I guess, build this business to what it is today?
I do, yeah, and I think all adversity, and I continue to have it personally and business wise, and being a dad and all of it. I think you can either let it run you down and take over and spit you out, which happens a lot, or you can get better from it and get stronger. Sometimes I think I'm at my best when things are at their worst, both here and personally, because I kind of just like to rally and try to make the most of it.
So are you out there looking for adversity?
No. I'd like to not have to prove it all the time. I'd like to not have as much adversity sometimes.
That's good.
It is there, and you can't deny it. It's part of life.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever felt like an imposter?
Sure. Yeah, I felt like an imposter. I mean, when I first started, I was young, and so just being a business owner and trying to represent yourself and justify your pricing and dealing with difficult vendors or something is hard because you may not have the respect as an older person when you're 25. So there's some of that. They say fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too. You have to, to be successful, I feel like in life and in business, you have to be a bit of a salesperson and be confident about what you have and what you offer and go with it. Maybe you don't fully understand it yet, or you're still figuring it out. But again, if you let that get to you, it's gonna chew you up and spit you out.
Is there a lot of other people doing what you guys do here, like in the local area, or no?
No, not so much. And in fact, in the country, we're one of the leaders in this industry.
Really?
Yeah, and again, that has to do a lot with our geographic location, our supply. But it's hard. It's really hard too. And there's definitely been companies I've seen come and go over the time, locally and abroad. But yeah, it's tricky and it's hard, and it is a labor of love, and it's not quick, easy money. It requires a lot of time and equipment and passion and hard work and all that.
Yeah. So do you have to find employees that kind of feel the same way about it as you do?
I'd like to, yeah. I mean, I think skill set's super important, but just as important around here is attitude and, just fitting into the company culture that's really important to me.
Yeah.
I've often said that one of my favorite things about owning a company is getting to pick who I spend my day with.
Yeah.
I've had really talented people work for me that are really hard to be around, and that's not a good fit for me or within the company, and that can bring down an entire crew. So I'd much rather hire people that have a positive attitude and a great work ethic and are easy to work with and easy to learn, that even if they don't have all of the skills, and I don't expect people to just automatically know how to salvage trees and build custom furniture, because again, there's not a lot of people doing it to begin with. But yeah, we can train good people.
Is there I don't know if there's like a big environmental impact on like salvaging wood like this, or if that's like one of the things that you go out and like advertise for something like that?
Yeah, we do, and there is a big impact. We don't try to make that our main thing. I mean, we're doing this because we love it, and I feel like it is the right thing to do, but it's not the only reason we do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everything you see in here, everything you see in our giant warehouse, and same in Seattle, between both companies in both states, we divert, 100,000 board feet of material out of the city's waste stream every year.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty big chunk.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that now for 20 years. I mean, it adds up to be a lot. And like I said, everything you see here was destined for firewood or chips or landfill. And so not only is that a shame and a waste of our natural resources, but it's not good for the environment.
So could you do this on a bigger level? Because like I've been out in national forests and stuff like that, where like you're not allowed to cut up the trees and take those home, like even dead ones that have fallen over. Hiking through a forest like that can be very, very difficult, and it seems to leave like a lot of fuel for fire. Mm-hmm. Could you do something like this on a larger level, or is that just kind of...
Yeah, I think you could. I mean, as much as we do, I feel like we're still just scratching the surface.
Okay.
Both within our area, let alone like all of the other municipalities that have no programs or no businesses like this. So yeah, there's kind of a movement right now.
And that's where my camera cut off. Really, really sucks, because I thought that Seth had some great advice and I was looking forward to sharing the entire conversation with you. However, That did not happen. My camera cut in the middle of this conversation, and I thought about not sharing the episode altogether, but I decided, hey, there was some good stuff said in what we did get recorded. I just thought I would share the piece of the conversation that I had. I want to thank Seth for coming on the merchandise show, and I want to thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Please subscribe here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast if that's your thing. Go follow our Instagram and our TikTok pages, and remember, mind your own business.